Good morning. This morning, the Arizona Attorney General's office is announcing a big win in court against Google over user privacy. The AG reached an $85 million settlement with Google to resolve the suit accusing Google of selling personal information to advertisers. Arizona prosecutors started investigating Google after an AP story in 2018, which claimed the company was misleading consumers about how they were tracking and using their location data. The state's lawsuit accused Google of using unfair and deceptive practices to track users' locations, even if they told Google to stop by turning off their location history. And this $85 million from Google will go into the state's general fund, and the AG says it will be used for education and broadband expansion. Joining us live this morning, two attorneys who represented Arizona in this case, Neal and Ken Ralston, attorneys with Gallagher and Kennedy. Thanks so much for being here this morning. I want to just jump right in. What does this actually mean for Arizona consumers?
I think it's a big win for consumers, particularly when it comes to personal privacy. I don't think consumers realize how much of their data is being taken by big tech. And this suit sends a message that big tech will be held accountable.
What kind of data was Google taking and using? What were they actually doing here?
Well, primarily this lawsuit was about geo-targeting, where Google was taking personal data from cell phones and tracking where people went and using that information to convert it to advertising. And the problem was they weren't telling people they were doing that.
And that's how Google makes their money, right? Advertising dollars.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
How much information and discovery happened in the course of this case and preparing for it? I know it's been in the works.
It's been in the works for a couple of years, and we've obtained hundreds of thousands of pages of internal Google documents. Many of them were very incriminating about their knowledge of what was going on. A lot of that's still covered by a protective order, so we can't talk about it. But it was a significant amount of information and data that we learned that Google was using to obtain personal data on Arizona consumers.
Were you expecting a settlement in this case, or were you expecting this to go to trial?
I think we were expecting it to go to trial. It was scheduled to start trial on October 24th. And it was because of recent rulings by the judge admitting critical evidence that we were able to obtain that I think that brought Google to the table and wanted to settle rather than have a jury decide this case.
I know Arizona is not the only state that is going after Google in similar kind of cases. What does this case mean for other states?
Well, that's exactly right. There are a number of other states that have initiated lawsuits against Google for the similar allegations to this case, and we think that our case, this was the first state to file such an action against Google, and we're the first case to settle, so it'll certainly set a precedent moving forward for those other states.
What's the bottom line for consumers moving forward who may have concerns about their privacy and other big tech companies, not just Google? What do they need to know?
I think the message from this lawsuit is you can't necessarily trust big tech. You need to do your own research about what data is being taken and how it's being used. Not all of them are transparent, and this lawsuit has brought that to light. So consumers need to be aware that it's not just them using their phone is being used against them.
And our information is valuable.
That's actually one of the things we learned. The most valuable data in the digital marketplace now is your own personal data. Where you go, what you do, the things you search for, that's all being collected. And in this case, it was all being collected by Google.
Thank you so much. Scott, we're going to send it back over to you.
All right. That sounds good. Thank you all.